Hello? Are we going? I think we're going.
Yes,
Sorry, just started the button and walked away, so I'm not sure if we were going. Hi, everyone. happy Tuesday. No, it's not Tuesday. It's Wednesday. See, I'm completely knackered with my days. It's because that bank holiday Monday threw me. It's Wednesday. It's block of the week day. I do know what the day is, honest. Hopefully you're all okay. Hopefully everyone's fine. It was a nice day here, but I got absolutely drenched running over from the shop. The heavens opened, which is delightful. So, what are we all up to? Thanks for all the pictures on the challenge post so far. I'm going to pull it tomorrow, so you've still got a little bit of time to enter if you want. And then we'll do a free prize draw for everybody that enters. It is only the scrappy coasters though, okay? It's only the ones that we did yesterday. So, and if you can try and put them under the post, it's a lot easier for me to find rather than sending them via a messenger or as a separate post. If you can comment on the post, I will try and find them all, but much easier for me to find it all if it's all on that post, okay? But yeah, it's been lovely. I've been some really lovely colour combinations, and some of you have done some variations on them, so brilliant. Glad you enjoyed the little 1 o'clock yesterday, and glad you all had a go. So Josh is filming for me today because Beth is in the shop looking after it for me while I'm over here. So who's coming online, Josh? Who's there?
Wendy's here, Nikki's here.
Hi Wendy, hi Nikki.
Christine and Sheila.
Hi Christine, hi Sheila.
Linda as well.
Linda, hi everybody. Lovely. So we're going to do obviously a block today. It's a nice simple block, but I've got a daily deal with it which kind of ties into the block because I worked out you can do a whole quilt top, a playmat baby quilt type quilt top from 10 fat eighths. So I'm doing a little fat eighth bundle for a daily deal. They will be a random selection of fat eighths, okay? And there's 10 of them. They're normally £1.50 each, but I'm doing 10 for £7.50, okay? They are already on the website. They won't necessarily be this selection. I just grabbed the first 10 out of the basket, but they will be a random selection, and I'll try and make sure there's a good mix of colours with each bundle, okay? Because what we're going to do today is a jigsaw block, which is this one up here. Really super simple. In fact, I'll leave it up there for easiness. Really nice and easy to do. Really good for beginners. There's not really much seam matching, which is nice. But it kind of looks like jigsaw pieces. And you could easily, this is like one block. This is a 12.5-inch block. But out of 10 fat eighths, you can easily get 9 of these, which when you put them together would be a really nice playmat. You could actually get, if you're clever, you can get 12 out. So you'd get 4 by 3 out of your fat eighths. So, because this is such a simple block as well, and there's actually not a lot of sewing to it, I thought I'd show you how I cut down my fat eighths as well, so that I get the most out of my block, out of the fabric. Because it looks tiny like that, but you actually get quite a lot of fabric. It's an 1/8 of a metre, obviously, because it's a fat eighth. Duh. So, is anybody having a chat? Anybody saying hello? Or anybody...
Yeah, Carolyn says, I'm mid doing the challenge post as I watch. It is quick. Takes longer to select and cut the fabric.
It does. It takes longer to cut those 1.5-inch strips, doesn't it, than to actually sew them on, because they are mega quick. I've already pre-cut some little bits to do the block, but I thought I'd go through what a fat eighth is, since we're doing the deal. Sorry, let's move my folder out of the way, because that's my my measurements. So what a fat eighth is 1/8 of a metre in total. Square areage? Square footage? Square meterage? Square meterage.
Meterage.
Areage? Well, that's not even a word, is it? That's definitely not a word. So obviously as quilters we very often buy fat quarters, which is 1/2 metre cut across the width of the fabric, cut in half. So you've got a nice big square. A fat eighth is 1/4 metre, what we call a long quarter, so 25 centimetres across the width of the fabric, cut in half. And that's what a fat eighth is. But you actually do get quite a lot of usable fabric in here, okay? So the very first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to starch and iron my fabric so that I can get nice, accurate cutting, okay? If I'm cutting meterage, I never ever open it up on the fold. I don't open it all the way up to cut it. I iron it, but I iron it in half. I keep it in half on that natural fold. Because it's rested for so long, I just find that it cuts better. Some people will argue with that, and that's absolutely fine. It's just how I do it. But when I'm doing fat quarters or fat eights, I do always open them out and I will iron and starch them. I think you get the little bit of starch just helps hold all those threads in place as you're cutting and gives you much more you know, accurate cutting, definitely. So give that a little iron and a starch, okay, like that. So what you need for this block is you want, for each block, you want 4 colours. Now you can raid your scrap buckets, which is exactly what I did for that one. You can just raid your scrap bucket, and you will need to be able to cut a 4.5 by 6.5 inch piece, okay, like that. And you need 3 2.5 inch squares, okay. So you could do this all out of your scrap bucket if you can get that out of one of your scraps. So it's 4.5 by 6.5 and 3 2.5s, okay. And you need that out of 4 different fabrics. So again, these are just out of my scraps. So I grabbed these ones, so I'm going to make another block up. I really like this. I think it's quick if you've got a baby present to make, but you could do like I Spy and stuff with it. You know, I don't know if you've ever seen an I Spy quilt. If you want to come up to me a minute, hon. I don't know if you've ever seen an I Spy quilt where you can like you do different like you pick fabrics that have got different objects and stuff on them. But you could do that a little bit like this. So rather than just having colours, I could have used maybe like this one that's got the little otters on it, you know, and have a whole block of otters, and then animals, or, you know, cars, or just, you know, you could do colours. So that way you can play I Spy, you know, I Spy, where's the otters, and the kids can find them on the quilt. So that would be a nice alternative of colours. But I'm just going to go for really, really brights, okay. Are you all still with me? I feel like I'm wittering on today. It's been one of those days. My brain's not slightly engaged.
Yeah, Margaret says she ordered some fat eights a few weeks ago.
Oh, perfect. Well, this would be ideal for you then, if you want to make a little quilt. I mean, I said baby quilt, but actually, if you did it all in adult colours, it'd be beautiful like that as well. So, fat eighth is all nice ironed and starched, okay? And I'm just going to trim it. Now, if you're cutting lots of these, I would iron and starch them, and I would layer them up, maybe 4 or 5, and cut this all in one go, okay? Much, much quicker. I'm just going to straighten up this very edge. So I'm going to go right to the very edge and just get myself a nice straight edge to start with, okay? I'm going to start by cutting my biggest piece. So I want a 4.5 by 6.5. I'm going to line up my 4.5 inch line on my ruler on that straight edge I just cut. Make my first cut. Like that, and then turn it, and then again I'm just going to straighten up that edge. So by straightening up this edge, I'm lining a horizontal line along the edge I've just cut, move it over as much as I can, so I'm wasting as little fabric as I can, straightening up that bit there, getting rid of that. Because I'm right-handed, I want that nice straight edge on my left hand side, and now I want to cut 6.5 inches. So got that along there, and again I use a horizontal line there across the top, and then the line down there, the 6.5 there. It's my double check that it's all nice and as straight as it can be, and then I can make that cut there. Okay, so there's my 4.5 by 6.5. Got this little piece here. I can easily get a 2.5 inch square out of that. So 2.5. All I've got is that little scrap, which will go into my crumb quilting. And then 2.5 that way. Okay, like that. Again, little scrap to go in my crumb quilting. So out of that first cut, I've managed to get my 4.5 by 6.5 in one of my 2.5s. And then I need another 2.5. So if I cut a 2.5 inch strip across here, like that. And then again, straighten up that edge. I'm going to cheat and do it this way. There we go. And then I need 2.5. So 2.5 and 2.5 is 5. So I'm going to line my 5 inch line up on the left hand side and my horizontal like that. Make my first cut and then move it along to my 2.5. And do it like that. Somebody taught me, I can't remember who taught it me actually ages and ages ago. The least amount you can move your fabric when you're cutting, the more accurate it tends to be. Because if you keep moving your fabric and everything stretches a little bit, everything gets handled. So the least amount you can move and touch your fabric, the better. Okay, so there's my bits for this block. Okay, you can see I've got all this left from my fat eighth. I can easily get another 4.5. There's two 2.5s again already. So I'd get another 4.5. I'd get another 2 4.5s and all my 3.5s out of, another 2 4.5 by 6.5s and all of my 2.5s out of what's left. So you can get quite a lot out of this, and you can easily, out of those 10 fat eighths, make a baby mat or a lap quilt quite quickly. Okay, for relatively cheap price as well. So with this block, it's easy. I found it was easiest to do this and lay the whole thing out, because you do need to make sure you put the right peg of the jigsaw puzzle into the right colour. Okay, actually, if I take that down a moment, I'll show you. Are there any questions there, Josh? Anybody having a chat? Anybody telling me anything exciting?
Eileen says nice to be back and watch after the break in Scotland.
Ah, lovely. Oh, you've been away. How fabulous. Nice.
Karen says, is that grunge fabric?
This one.
From the grunge fabric.
No, this one is the Macawa linen texture, which it's called linen texture because it kind of looks like linen, but it's not linen. It's not an open weave like a linen. It's just got that lovely sort of gradient. It's my favourite blender. It really is I like grunge and I use it a lot, but if my go-to blender is the Macawa linen texture. It just gives that very slight, it's not as flat as a solid, and it's lovely to work with, really nice to work with. So you can see from this one, you need to think, this is why we're going to lay it out before we start sewing. You need to think a little bit about which, I don't know, does anybody know what the jigsaw pieces are called? The little knobbly bits of a jigsaw fit into the hole of the next piece. There's probably a proper name for them. Because if I'd have put, say, this one with the red, it wouldn't then have worked, okay? So you need to think, that's the only kind of tricky bit with this, is you need to think which colours you're putting next to each other. So, it comes out as a 12.5 inch block. So what we're going to do is we're going to lie this out. So I'm going to have a pink one there, and that would have that bit there, and then I'd want my little piece coming out like that. Okay, and I'm going to put that next to this green one. So we do this and this, okay, because that's fitting into that. But this one should have one coming down here, shouldn't it, like that? Okay, because that's going to fit into the one underneath. Now it looks like it's not going to fit at the moment, but it will, obviously, when these are sewn together. And then we're going to have this orange one. So the orange one's going to sit like that, and it would go either side of that one there. And then would poke into this one, fit into that one. And then my last one is going to be like that, and enclose that orange one. And then that one is going to fit into there. Okay, so if you kind of lie it out, now it doesn't look much like a jigsaw. I know it doesn't at the moment. But if you kind of lie it out like that and think about where your colours are going to be, when we sew these little blocks together, you know they're going to fit together when you put it all together as a full. Okay. So next is we're going to go like that and like that, so they're nice and separate, and we're going to stitch these together. Okay, this really is very, very simple sewing. I think like I was saying, the only complicated bit would be laying it out, and I would lay out my block like that, and I would do some, these are 12.5 inches, but I have got the measurements for 6.5 inches as well, so I will give those, I'll give you those at the end. Okay, so we're going to stitch this one to this one to this one, and then we're going to join it to that. Okay, 1/4 inch seam allowance. So I'm going to whip it over to the sewing machine, and now you need to talk to me. Tell me stuff. Who's doing anything? What am I stuck on? I'm stuck on something. Oh, lead. The wheels of the chair are getting stuck on the lead. Who's up to anything? Have you been doing anything nice? What are you making?
Eileen says that would really make sense about the cutting. Why have I never heard that rule before? I'm bad at cutting, so we'll follow that rule.
Ah, cool. Fab. Yeah, you kind of need to know your times tables a little bit. So, you know, if you've got to cut 10 2.5 inch squares, you've got to know that it's 2.5, 5, 7.5, 10, 12.5. You know, my poor little non-maths brain does get a little bit pickled sometimes. But if you can start at the highest one and gradually move your ruler rather than your fabric, you get a lot less stretching and stuff. Handle your fabric as little as possible, basically. So, just 1/4 inch seam allowance. We're going to sew these together. Okay, and you could, when you get really organised with this, you can chain piece these, and you don't have to keep going backwards and forwards. But just where we're doing the one little block at the moment, we're just gonna. Where's my sewing machine work? There we go.
Sue said they just had a really heavy hailstorm.
Oh, the sun is out again now. Blue skies. There's a few little white fluffy clouds, but blue skies. But I got absolutely drenched running over from the shop. It was pouring down. But it was like one of those 30-second, jobs.
Angela says she's just ordered the Illusion Table Runner. Do you have a kit for this?
Lovely. There will be a kit for which one? Sorry.
It says, she just says, do you have a kit for this, please?
For the Illusion Table Runner, I can put one together. We haven't got any left, but I can put one together if you want to drop me a message and I can sort it out for you. This jigsaw one, if you're talking about that, the daily deal is a bundle of fat 8s, which would be perfect for this. Okay. You want to iron your pieces outwards, okay, so towards whatever fabric is on the outside. If you do that on all of them, it fits together nicely. Okay, so I'm just going to iron that one out, like that. And then we're going to attach that to the long side, okay? So again, 1/4 inch. So with the seams on the top as much as possible. I know we've said that before, but if you sew it with the seams as much as, with as much flat on the feed dogs, nothing gets caught up in stuff, and you can control the seams which way they go. Okay, so I'm going to sew down here.
Carol says she's making lap quilts for care home, 27 to make, but it's keeping her busy.
Ah, fabulous. Oh, that's a lovely thing to do. Well, this would be a nice pattern as a change, actually. You'd make a lovely little lap quilt, wouldn't it? And oh, excuse me, my nose is so itchy. And again, when you iron this, you want to iron it to the bigger piece of fabric, okay? Again, it just helps because you've got less bulk, the seam will lie flatter, okay?
Jackie says she's still away in her van, missing her machine home tomorrow, though.
Oh, you're going to have to get yourself a little machine, one of those little diddy ones to take away with you, or some hand sewing or something. Here we go. Okay, so that's my first part of my block done. I'm just going to repeat that with the other pieces. Okay, so I'm going to sew that one to that one to that one with the orange in the centre.
Carol says, love the linen feel, busy with a round robin challenge. No final size of completed project given, and then you run out of fabric.
Oh, bless you.
Now I'm running around like a chicken without a head, searching at South Africa for what she ran out of.
Oh, bless you. I've cut that one wrong. I'm going to cut another little piece because it won't fit in. Obviously, it moved. Where's those fabrics gone?
These ones?
Those ones there. Cool. Yeah. Just realised that wasn't a 2.5. That's because I was cutting it really quickly. I ran over in the shop because I got drenched. I had to clean myself up, and then I was like, I haven't cut my fabric. Right, so let me just cut another 2.5 very quickly. There we go. That's better. Fabric would. That's because I was cutting it in big pieces. So get rid of that. Get rid of that. Who's going to watch Sewing Bee tonight? I did watch it last week, but I watched it up in London, so I didn't pay much attention to it because I was too busy cuddling the baby. It was the gent stuff last week, wasn't it? It's all the can't see. I really wasn't paying attention because I can't even remember what they made. Was it? What did they make at the end? Oh, was it like utility shirts, like combat-y type shirts, wasn't it? And the hats. I do remember now. Yeah, they made a hat, didn't they, at the beginning? There we go. Let's get rid of that bit. That's going to have to go in my crumbs. And again, I'm going to press outwards with this one. Like that. And like that. And then that's going to go onto the side of this one. But this really is, a good idea for scrap quilts, or if you like, was it Carolyn, did you say, making quilts for like nursing homes or you know, places like
Carol.
Carol, sorry. I knew it was a C. Remember them for a second. You know, nice way of using up scraps and all, but it's a slightly different pattern. Just gives you, sometimes it's nice to have something different to do, isn't it? Right, next one then. Again, so I'm going to add really, really simple that to that to that. I say that a lot, but then it's not going to be simple tomorrow. Excuse me, I'm going to sneeze in a minute. My nose is terrible. We're going to be playing around with some Hawaiian applique tomorrow, which is, like I said yesterday, not something I've done before. I've just been playing around with it the last couple of days, just to have a little go. One of those techniques that you sort of see and you think, oh, I like that. Oh, I'll give that a go. I'll give that a go. So I thought I'd give it a go and we could have a little play with it tomorrow. It's interesting actually. I think it's going to be one of those things that, you know, I'm not going to do lots of, but it's one of those projects I would come back to. It's not a quick thing, that's for sure. Okay, so again, adding that one to that one. A little bit more involved. So I made life easy for myself and did a simple block today.
Yeah, Kate asked what's the best size for a lap quilt.
I think probably 4x3, 12. If you're going 12.5-inch blocks, 4x3 is a nice. Like if if someone sat in an armchair or a wheelchair or something, and you just want something to go over your lap, you know, sort of four blocks by 3 blocks, 12.5-inch blocks works nicely, and then put a little border or a binding on it or something. If you want something to like cutch up under on the sofa, make it as big as however many people you're cutching up with, I suppose. I mean, this one, I would consider this to be a large lap quilt. This is what I call like a sofa quilt. It's not really big enough for a bed. I mean, I suppose it would go over the bottom of a single bed. It's not really big enough for a bed, but it's enough to like get proper cutched up under on the sofa. And your husband can steal like the edge of it then. And what's this one? This is 4x4. They're 12.5 inches. So I think that one's come out at like 54x54, but that you wouldn't have that for like an armchair or a wheelchair quilt. That's way too big. There we go. Okay. Nearly there. This is the last little one. Like I say, it's really repetitive, but I quite like that sometimes with a block. You know, when you're just having to do the same thing over and over. I mean, Sarah likes really repetitive blocks. I struggle when, you know, I've got to make a lot. But when they're as simple as this, it's real like switch off your brain time. You can just sew without worrying too much. There we go. Any other questions, comments there? Anybody got anything to tell me?
Caroline says she does like a bit of applique.
Ah, cool. Yeah, no, it's an interesting technique actually, this one. Right, okay, now I've got to remember which way round they all were. So, that one's going to come down to there like that, because that's touching there. Okay, and that's going to be touching there like that. And then that's going to be round that way, and that touches there like that. And then we're going to put them together as a 4 patch. Okay, so I'm going to sew this one to this one to this one, put them together. Okay. So that one to that one. And I again, do it in little stages. So there is a tiny, actually, I don't know if you can see this, Josh, there is a tiny bit of nesting. So when I put those two together, can you see that that seam that there and there want to nest? And because we sewed them all to the outside fabric, they'll nest naturally. You haven't got to worry about which way it's going. So I'm going to pin that nesting seam. That one there is against a flat piece so that you don't have to worry about nesting that one. Okay. There we go. I'm going to go across here. All the way down that one. I'm going to do the same for this one, so I'm going to sew that one to that one like that. And again, there's one little seam there that likes to nest. Just make sure they've kind of done that. You know, I kind of roll it between my fingers so they click in a little bit. And they kind of snuggle up against each other then. There we go. And that one. find the seam today. Where is it? Any other questions there, Josh? Anybody having a chat?
No, no, not right now.
So I was busy last night making samples for the Hachanda show, which is coming up next Thursday. So I'm nearly done with them. I've got a little bit of pattern polishing rather, to finish off. So there's that one. And then I've ironed that one that way, so I want this one to iron that way. There we go, like that. Get that ironed out nicely. And then these two can go together. And again, because I've ironed them in opposite directions, that centre point will nest nicely there. Like that. And there is there's a couple of other little nests. So there's one there. Okay, so there's one just here. But again, because we starched and pressed our fabrics before we started and then ironed them all the right way, they do pop in together nicely. Like that. So one more seam to sew, which is down there, and then we can square it up. Now, because I've got this is 12.5 inches, but I've also got the measurements for a 6.5 inch block. You could do big jigsaw pieces and then make some 6.5 inch ones, which if you did 4 of them, they'd go together to make a 12 inch one. So you'd have some big jigsaw pieces and then some little tiny ones. You could play around with actually putting your blocks together and making extra little bits. When I lay this out, I'll show you what I'm trying to say. I'm not explaining it very well today. So they kind of lock in more than just the 4. There we go. So if I open that one out now, like that, make sure that that's pressed out well. You can see that that's come together really quite quickly, and we've got another one. Okay, what I was trying to say is you could, if you were clever and thought about it, you could do it. How would you do it so that you've got a piece going in? You could do another piece of this that way, couldn't you? So you could do another block there. So if that was, yeah, 2. So if that was a pink one and a red one there, 2.5 inch squares sewn together on a 4.5 by 4.5. 4.5, yeah, that would work. You'd then get a little red one poking into there as well. You could play around with that. You could draw that out onto graph paper and make that work. So yeah, if you did a 4.5 inch square there, and then that would be a pink 2.5, and that would be a red 2.5 sewn together. So those two together, and then add that on. You could then make them interlock that way, or you could just put a nice sash in between them and just have 4s. Okay, but you can do, like I was saying, I'll give you the measurements now. 6 and do this whole thing. It's all shrunk down, and they end up at 6.5 inches. So you could do, like, there'd be 4 little ones, 4, 4, 4, and 4, which would then end up as 12.5. So you could have large ones and then small diddy ones, large ones, small diddy ones. Okay, so really quick to do, but you're definitely brilliant for playing around with, you know, like your scraps and stuff, because you need so little. If I give you the hang on, any questions there, just while I find the 6.5 inch.
No, Jean just says it looks great for something so simple.
Yeah, really simple but really effective. And just square them up to 12.5. This one was just very slightly bigger when I finished it, so I just trimmed it down. I think it'd be really lovely and bright. So just run through the measurements again. For the 12.5 inch block, you need 4 fabrics. You need 1 from each fabric, 1 4.5 by 6.5, and then 3 2.5s. You need that by 4. But if you want to do smaller blocks, the 6.5 inch ones, again you need 4 fabrics, but you want 1 which is 2.5 by 3.5, and then 3 which are 1.5 inch squares. Okay, so you could absolutely then that would end up that size, but you'd have 4 little ones like that, and then you could do 4 of those together. I might make one of those up and show you, maybe if I get a chance I'll make one of those up and show you next week. of the 6.5s and how they'd go together, which might be quite interesting.
Yeah, Grace asks, is 5-inch squares too small to make a block?
5-inch squares, yes, lovely. Because if you're doing this size block, you can't get your 6.5 because that's 4.5 by 6.5. If you want to do the smaller size, you could use a charm pack. You might just get it out then. Would you? Yeah, you might just get it out if you're doing. Hang on, let me just work that out. 2 seconds. So if it's a 5-inch block, you'd get your 2.5 by 3.5, which would give me, yeah, you'd get your 1.5 there, wouldn't you? So that'd be 2.5 by 3.5. 2.5, and then you'd get, yeah, you could. If you do the 6.5-inch blocks, the little ones, you can use a charm pack, because out of your 5 inches, have I got a charm square here anywhere? I don't think I have. So if you imagine that's your 5 inches like that. Sorry, it's just me doing random drawings. You could get your 3.5, so cut it in half like that. So you've got 2.5 by 5. You'd get your 2.5 by 3.5 out of there. And then you get your little 1.5-inch square out of that bit. And then you get your other 2 1.5s out of the other piece of the charm square. So you could do it with a charm pack, but only if you do the smaller size one, not if you do the 12.5s.
Carol asks, would it work with flower prints?
Oh yeah, I don't see why not. Well, yeah, that looks. See, that's a flower print there. That's a floral. You know, so yeah, I don't see why not. I don't think they have to be solids. I think it works quite well if you've got some solids in there. But that's a floral in there, and that's actually quite a big print on that fabric. But it works quite well. Yeah, give it a go. See. Yeah, I mean, I've chosen just real brights out of my, bright sort of bits out of my scraps and things, but you could, I think it would work with anything. Yeah. Any other questions?
No, everyone's saying thanks.
No
Grace
problem.
says thanks, I have a spy charm pack.
Ah, there you go. Having it.
And I spy charm pack.
Right. And cool. That would be a good idea. Yeah, why not? But you'd have to, like I said, you'd have to do the 6.5-inch ones, which are the smaller size blocks. You wouldn't get out of the charm pack, you wouldn't get the big one. Okay. So I'm going to be back tomorrow with some Hawaiian applique, which we're going to muddle through it. There's some different ways of different techniques and stuff in it, so we're going to have a little play with that. And daily deal then, like I said, you could easily make, I think I worked out you'd make 12 blocks that size out of the 10 fat 8s. Easy peasy. So yeah, that's on at £7.50. It's already on the website. And I will see you all tomorrow if there's no other questions.
No, everyone's saying thank you.
Brilliant. Cool. Like I said, easy one today, and I'll see you tomorrow with something a little bit more difficult. Take care. Bye.